The disease and the vaccine, every doctor has jumped at the chance without hesitation. They've volunteered their time because they care about you and me and our neighbourhood. Many of our doctors grew up here or have chosen to live here, and their parents are also here. They want all of us to be safe. They are the experts. Please listen to them. I have been vaccinated to protect myself, my community, those I love. I hope you do too.
We're all a bit tired of living like this, and we all would like to return to normal. However, to return to normality and to safety, we all got to try and contribute by getting vaccinated.
COVID vaccines protect us from a very serious illness which can result in death and very long-term side effects.
The vaccine has been studied in various countries and it's deemed to be safe and effective.
There's a lot of misinformation on the internet, but the best way is to talk to your GP or healthcare professional to talk about the vaccine.
Think about it. Please get vaccinated. Let's protect our community and let's get out of this pandemic all safely.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sanam Maqsood from New Zealand studio. आप सबको खुशामदीद कहेंगे और this is our first program जो कि Voice of Australians के साथ हम कर रहे हैं. Basically ये program एक new series है जिसमें आप देखेंगे कि program some live होंगे, कुछ recorded होंगे और Voice of Australians platform के साथ हम लोगों की coordination है. लेकिन ये program आप New Zealand से देख रहे हैं. तो प्रोग्राम का लिंक फेसबुक पर मैंने शेयर कर दिया है और ग्रुप्स में भी शेयर कर दिया है, तो आप जो है हमसे कनेक्ट हो सकते हैं. और आज का प्रोग्राम बहुत स्पेशल है क्योंकि आप जैसे देख रहे हैं कि न्यूजीलैंड में कोविड-19 ओमिक्रॉन वेरिएंट इज स्प्रेडिंग क्वाइट फास्ट. तो यहाँ पे इस ओमिक्रॉन को कंट्रोल करने के लिए डिफरेंट प्रोटेक्टिव मेजर्स तो ऑलरेडी इन प्लेस हैं. लेकिन आज इस प्रोग्राम में मैंने दावत दी है डॉक्टर संध्या रामानाथन को, जो कि ऑकलैंड बेस्ड जनरल प्रैक्टिशनर सोशल मीडिया उनकी जो एक छोटी सी प्रोफाइल आपको मैं बताना चाहूंगी इससे पहले कि मैं उनको प्रोग्राम में लाइव बुलाऊं. डॉक्टर संध्या ने ड्यूरिंग कोविड, जब ये कोविड स्टार्ट हुआ था, तो उन्होंने एक बहुत अच्छा स्टार्ट लिया, यूट्यूब वीडियोस बनाई जिसमें उन्होंने कोविड से रिलेटेड होम मतलब आप घर में कोविड को कैसे मैनेज कर सकते हैं, होम मेडिकल मैनेजमेंट प्लान फॉर कोविड उन्होंने दिया, जो कि लेटर ऑन 17 लैंग्वेजेस में ट्रांसलेट किया गया. सो मज़ीद जो है और सबसे बड़ी बात उनको कि इस काविश पे और इस ग्रेट वर्क पे उनको एक कम्युनिटी सर्विस मेडल भी दिया गया, जो कि रॉयल न्यूजीलैंड कॉलेज ऑफ जनरल प्रैक्टिशनर्स की तरफ से था, विच इज़ अ ग्रेट ऑनर फॉर अ डॉक्टर टू रिसीव सच अ कम्युनिटी सर्विस अवार्ड. सो प्रोग्राम में मज़ीद बातें चलती रहेंगी, सो आप हमसे कनेक्ट हो सकते हैं. अगर आपके सवाल हैं तो हमें आप यहाँ मैसेज कर सकते हैं या talkingpoints@nz@gmail.com पर भेज सकते हैं. सो मैं प्रोग्राम में वेलकम करूंगी डॉक्टर संध्या रामानाथन को, सो वो हमें ज्वाइन करें, जो कि हमारे साथ मौजूद होंगी. हेलो डॉक्टर संध्या.
Assalamu alaikum, Sanaji, and namaste, and kia ora to everybody from Auckland, and thank you so much मुझे आज invite करने के लिए इस topic पे बात करने के लिए.
It's my honor because हमने आज हमारा ये फर्स्ट प्रोग्राम है डॉक्टर संध्या जो कि वॉइस ऑफ ऑस्ट्रेलियंस प्रोग्राम प्लेटफॉर्म है और बहुत ऑस्ट्रेलिया में ये देखा जाता है तो हमने न्यूजीलैंड के साथ कनेक्शन करवाया है कि थोड़ी सी कोलैबोरेशन की जाए न्यूजीलैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलियंस को कनेक्ट किया जाए आपस में एंड आई एम ऑनर्ड कि
ये
आप
देखो ये बहुत अच्छी बात है क्योंकि एक्चुअली मैं सिडनी से हूँ मैं ऑस्ट्रेलियन
दैट्स ग्रेट
ये मेरी पैदाइश इंडिया में थी लेकिन जब से मैं 3 महीने की थी मैं सिडनी में रह रही हूँ और पिछले 13 years के लिए से हम ऑकलैंड में हैं सो दैट्स an excellent platform and I'm very happy to be the introductory show.
थैंक यू सो मच सो प्रोग्राम में ओमिक्रॉन वेरिएंट के बारे में हम बात करेंगे डॉक्टर संध्या लेकिन जाने से पहले मैं लेना चाहूँगी एक छोटी सी ब्रेक और फिर हम वापस आते हैं ताकि हम थोड़ा सा तैयार हो जाएं और आप पे मेरे पास एक क्वेश्चन लिस्ट मौजूद है जो कि मैं आपसे इन मैं ऑर्डर्स में नहीं जाऊंगी मतलब कुछ क्वेश्चंस हम लाइव भी लेते रहेंगे जो हमारे व्यूवर्स हमें सुन रहे हैं सो आपसे मैं व्यूवर्स से कहूंगी कि आपने अगर अभी हमें कनेक्ट किया है तो आज का हमारा प्रोग्राम ओमिक्रॉन स्पेशल है जो कि आपको ओमिक्रॉन कोविड के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन दी जाएगी सो हमारे साथ कनेक्ट रहिएगा सो जाते हैं एक छोटी सी ब्रेक पर और वापस आते हैं जी तो ब्रेक बहुत छोटी थी so which is good that we need a lot of time so डॉक्टर संध्या जैसे मतलब कोविड ओमिक्रॉन पे जाने से पहले so सबसे पहले तो आज के न्यूजीलैंड के कम्युनिटी केसेस जो कि 810 केसेस हैं आज के दिन के 13 फरवरी के सो क्या आप देख रही हैं कि ट्रेंड किस तरफ जा रहा है कि मतलब इट्स कंटिन्यूसली ग्रोइंग और इट्स स्टिल स्टेबल
नहीं अब हम डेफिनेटली ग्रोथ फेज में आ गए हैं जैसे कि आप डबलिंग टाइम कल जैसे आई थिंक 450 ऑड केसेस थे और आज 810 और उससे
डबल हो
दिन
गए
हाँ तो अभी तक एक्चुअली अभी तक होना चाहिए था इससे ज़्यादा केसेस लेकिन जो न्यूजीलैंड की बिगेस्ट सक्सेस रहा है कि वो है कि हमने दूसरे देशों को हमने सब कुछ देखा है और हमारे पास
मतलब बहुत ज्यादा लर्न किया है बाकी
लर्न किया है और हमने अपनी वैक्सीनेशन रेट इतनी अच्छी है यहाँ पर लाइक 90% से ऊपर और अब क्योंकि हमारा अभी भी बॉर्डर कंट्रोल है तो इस वजह से हमने थोड़ा सा इसका रेट स्लो कर दिया है लेकिन ओमिक्रॉन की यही एक खासियत है कि बहुत ही कंटेजियस है और इसीलिए न्यूजीलैंड ने दे हैव अनाउंस्ड कि फरवरी जो है वो बूस्टर मंथ है जो लोगों को जिन लोगों को 3 महीने हो चुका है जब से उन्होंने सेकेंड डोज लिया है जो लोग 18 उम्र से ज़्यादा हैं they need to go and get their booster if it's been 3 months as soon as possible वो बूस्टर लेना चाहिए और ये बूस्टर नहीं सोचना चाहिए ये ऐसे सोचना चाहिए कि इस वैक्सीनेशन में 3 डोसेस जरूरी है तो ये थर्ड डोज जो है जैसे प्राइम मिनिस्टर जसिंडा आर्डर्न ने कहा है कि 2 डोज डेल्टा के लिए काफी थे लेकिन अब ओमिक्रॉन को फाइट करने के लिए जितने भी ज्यादा लोग 3 डोसेस ले सकते हैं उनको अभी लेना चाहिए जल्दी से जल्दी
मैं आपके ही जवाब से एक सवाल अब निकालूंगी कि आपने अभी बात की डेल्टा की सो हाउ कंटेजियस इज दिस एज कंपेयर टू डेल्टा वेरिएंट बिकॉज बीइंग अ नॉन क्लिनिकल पर्सन तो मुझे नहीं पता कि डेल्टा में क्या था या ओमिक्रॉन में क्या है एंड हाउ इट इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम दैट तो आम लोगों की समझ के लिए मतलब आप इसको कैसे एक्सप्लेन करेंगी कि क्या कैसे ये कंटेजियस है एज कंपेयर टू डेल्टा
तो साइंस में एक टर्मिनोलॉजी होती है वायरसेस में और वो टर्मिनोलॉजी होता है R0 यानी कि R with the zero and that refers to the virus's ability to transmit उसकी ट्रांसमिसिबिलिटी लेकिन वो जो है फिगर इट एक्चुअली रिलेट्स टू अ नॉन इम्यून पॉपुलेशन यानी कि एक पॉपुलेशन जैसे कि अगर आप समझो कि 2019 की दिसंबर में जब ये शुरू हुई थी इन्फेक्शन कोविड-19 तो तब जो ओरिजिनल स्ट्रेन था जो वुहान से निकला था उस वायरस की R0 ट्रांसमिशन रेट between 2 and 3 था, यानी कि जो एक इन्फेक्टेड बंदा है तो वो 2 या 3 दूसरे लोगों को इन्फेक्ट कर सकता है।
इन्फेक्ट कर
और जब
Right.
डेल्टा आया था तो वो R0 फिगर फिर बढ़ गया उससे, तो
मतलब उससे
ज़्यादा
ज्यादा
इन्फेक्शन,
लोगों की ट्रांसमिट
तो उसका R0 फिगर जैसे कि 4 to 6 हो गया 2 to 3 से, यानी कि ऑलमोस्ट
राइट
डबल।
राइट सो इट्स डबल
और
या
अब ओमिक्रॉन जो है ये डेल्टा से भी 1.5 to 2 times ज़्यादा कंटेजियस है। तो नॉन
सो
इम्यून
लाइक इट्स
पॉपुलेशन में शायद अप टू एक इन्फेक्टेड बंदा शायद 10 लोगों को इन्फेक्ट कर सकता है,
नॉन
लेकिन
वैक्सीनेटेड
हाँ, non-vaccinated. Lekin, although vaccinated people are getting infected, and that is one of the, and we will talk about this, one of the features of Omicron is that it, whereas Delta, it was more infectious because it was sticking more to the cells and creating higher viral loads. Up to 70 times copies of viruses is being transmitted by an infected person. But जो Omicron है उसका ये है कि it is evading the immunity that has been derived from vaccines or previous infection. तो इसीलिए आप ज़्यादा ब्रेक थ्रू इन्फेक्शंस देख रहे हैं। ब्रेक थ्रू इन्फेक्शन हम इसको कहलाते हैं जिन लोगों को वैक्सीनेशन हुआ है और उनको जब इन्फेक्शन होता है उनको ब्रेक थ्रू इन्फेक्शन कहलाते हैं। लेकिन जो ब्रेक थ्रू इन्फेक्शंस है वो ज़्यादातर माइल्ड ही होते हैं या एसिम्प्टोमेटिक। और इन्फेक्शन मतलब कि जो आपको प्रीवियस इन्फेक्शन था और आपको दोबारा से इन्फेक्शन हो गया है।
So like if I'm vaccinated, so I have like a chances to get Omicron because अभी हमने देखा कि जो डेली नंबर्स भी आ रहे हैं तो उसमें काफी वैक्सीनेटेड लोग हैं जिनको Omicron कैच हो रहा है। तो जैसे आपने कहा ब्रेक थ्रू इसको हम कहेंगे।
हाँ, और सना जी आपको ये भी समझना चाहिए कि अब जो ज़्यादातर लोग हैं एज अपोज टू एट द बिगिनिंग ऑफ द पैंडेमिक और स्पेशली अगर आप न्यूजीलैंड और ऑस्ट्रेलिया की बात करते हैं, जो ज़्यादातर लोग अब वैक्सीनेटेड हैं, तो वैक्सीनेटेड लोगों ही में आप इन्फेक्शन देखेंगे, है ना?
राइट सो
क्योंकि एक तो अगर आप अनवैक्सीनेटेड है तो ये वायरस आपको इट विल फाइंड यू। लेकिन अब जो ओमिक्रॉन की यही खासियत है कि वो इवन वैक्सीनेटेड को भी काफ़ी ब्रेक थ्रू इन्फेक्शंस हो रहे हैं। एंड इफ आई कैन जस्ट एक्सप्लेन, आई थिंक इट माइट एक्चुअली हेल्प अगर लोग इसको विजुअलाइज
no visual is that's the best thing that I have seen in your
तो
videos explaining
अगर
to
मैं
viewers.
थोड़ा सा आपको एक्सप्लेन कर सकती हूँ कि जो
Sure.
कोविड वायरस है ये थोड़ा सा इस बॉल की तरह लगता है, ठीक है, स्ट्रक्चर में। तो ये जो है इस वायरस पार्टिकल है, इसमें एक प्रोटीन शेल होता है, अंदर एक स्ट्रैंड आरएनए होता है जिसकी इसकी जेनेटिक मटेरियल होता है, ठीक है, और उसकी सरफेस पे ये होते हैं ये स्पाइक प्रोटीन्स, ठीक है, और ऊपर से एक फैटी लेयर होता है। So initially, Joe, at the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't know much about the virus. तो पहले जो उन्होंने कहा कि hand hygiene, washing hands for 20
Right.
seconds is really important. ये इस वजह से है कि पहले उन्होंने सोचा कि ज़्यादातर जो ट्रांसमिशन है वो ड्रॉपलेट के थ्रू होते हैं, जैसे कि आपकी
Transmissions हो रही है।
हाँ, जो कोई खांसता है या छींकता है या आप अपने हाथों पे ये सरफेस ट्रांसमिशन से आप अगर ये वायरस अपने आँख या नाक या मुँह को छुएंगे तो ये वायरस एंटर होगा। तो इसलिए अगर आपके हाथ पे कोई वायरस है, अगर आप 20 सेकंड के लिए साबुन से हाथ धोएंगे या आप सैनिटाइजर इस्तेमाल करेंगे तो वो जो फैटी लेयर है वो डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगा और ये वायरस डीएक्टिवेट हो जाएगा, ठीक है। जैसे ये लेकिन अब हमें पता है अब कि ये वायरस ज़्यादातर एरोसोल्स में स्प्रेड होता है, यानी कि जो लोग इवन जैसे हम वैसे सांस ले रहे हैं या बात कर रहे हैं कमरे में, तो ऐसे जैसे आप स्प्रे कैन से अगर आप देख सकते हैं कि जो जैसे फाइन स्प्रे होता है, ऐसे ही फाइन स्प्रे यानी कि आप स्मोक भी समझ सकते हैं, जो सिगरेट स्मोक, कि हम सब we are emitting this fine spray of these particles and they remain suspended हवा में, और particularly in an enclosed room, और जो ज़्यादा लोग होते हैं और जो ज़्यादा टाइम के लिए होते हैं तो वो पार्टिकल्स जो है एक कमरे में कॉन्सेंट्रेट हो जाता है। तो अगर उस कमरे में काफ़ी लोग हैं और अगर आप मास्क भी पहन रखे हैं, अगर वो मास्क वेल फिटेड नहीं हो, तो आपको यू माइट स्टिल गेट इनहेल एनफ ऑफ दीज वायरल पार्टिकल्स टू गेट एन इन्फेक्शन। और इसीलिए अब वेंटिलेशन की बात हो रही है कि जैसे अगर आप विंडोज़ खोलेंगे और आप फ्रेश एयर को अंदर लाएंगे, or you use an air filter, air purifier to filter the air, and you have flowing air, you use a fan and push it out, point it out the window, then that will decrease the viral load of the room. तो अब काफ़ी चीज़ों के बारे में सोचना है। Now, ये जो वायरस है, ये जो स्पाइक प्रोटीन है, this is a key, ठीक है? और जो लॉक है, ये हमारे जो आँख या नाक या मुंह और बॉडी के अंदर there is an ACE2 receptor, and this spike protein hooks into that ACE2 receptor, enters our cell, and uses our genetic material to replicate. ठीक है? क्योंकि alone ये वायरस हमें कुछ it can't harm us. लेकिन सिर्फ जब वो हमारे सिस्टम में एंटर होता है,
तो डिफरेंट बॉडीज के साथ रिएक्ट करके देन
no, that's how it hijacks our cells. ठीक है? और जो वैक्सीन है, so vaccines are just, they are not a live virus. They're not a live vaccine. They are simply a little piece of, genetic material which tells our body to produce this, to recognize this spike protein. यानी कि ये जो spike protein है, जैसे कि इस वायरस का जो नंबर प्लेट है, ठीक है? तो हमारा बॉडी, जब हम वैक्सीनेट होते हैं तो हमें इंजेक्शन होता है और फिर 2-3 दिन बाद हमारा सिस्टम उस इंजेक्शन को, वैक्सीन को डिस्ट्रॉय करता है, लेकिन इस बीच में हमें वो याद रहता है कि अच्छा ये स्पाइक प्रोटीन कुछ ऐसे लगता है, ठीक है? और फिर जब वायरस इफ वी मीट द वायरस, देन हमारा इम्यून सिस्टम को पता है कि अच्छा नहीं, ये ठीक नहीं है, हमें इम्यून रिस्पॉन्स माउंट करना है और उस वायरस को डिस्ट्रॉय करना है,
फाइट बैक करना है, राइट।
अब आप वेरिएंट्स की बात कर रहे हैं, तो अगर आप देखें तो जो ओरिजिनल जो वैक्सीन्स थे वर टारगेटेड टू द ओरिजिनल स्ट्रेन, और फिर डेल्टा आया और अब ओमिक्रॉन आया। हाँ, तो जैसे कि वो आप समझ सकते हैं कि वो अभी भी वो लाइसेंस प्लेट वो देख सकते हैं, लेकिन जैसे कि शायद थोड़ा सा इसमें ऑब्स्क्यूर हो गया है पार्ट ऑफ द लेटर, लेकिन फिर भी वो रिकग्नाइज करके वो इन्फेक्शन को, it is preventing people from having severe infection requiring hospitalization. ठीक है? And that is the main job of the vaccines. There are very few vaccines which have a sterilizing immunity. और उसका मतलब कि वो आप कभी इन्फेक्ट ही नहीं हो सकते हैं उस immunization के बाद. So that's basically, you understand.
नहीं, जबरदस्त, क्योंकि विजुअल से जो एक्सप्लेनेशन है, you can't do that through verbal. So it is amazing. तो
एक और चीज सना जी, just with this, the difference between Delta and Omicron, और लोग कह रहे हैं कि अच्छा Omicron तो mild है, I wouldn't say कि mild है, I could say कि Delta से less severe है, लेकिन जो वो original strain है जो वुहान से निकला था, उससे probably equal severity है for unvaccinated people. And the reason it is Omicron has been less severe than Delta is that Delta was, spike proteins जो थे Delta के were stickier, so it was sticking on our cells better and creating far many more copies. तो जो infected बंदा था वो 70 times of these viral particles वो they are emitting. Now जो Omicron के साथ हो रहा है कि it's not that this is necessarily more sticky, but that it is favoring the upper respiratory tract and less so the lungs. ठीक है? तो इसीलिए आपको the people are not staying in hospital as long क्योंकि उनकी lungs में ज़्यादा effect इस Omicron से नहीं हो रहा है, which is a lucky thing.
Which is good, yeah, which is good.
But that is a reason where children are getting a little bit more affected. Which is what we can talk about.
जी बिल्कुल, अभी मैंने चिल्ड्रन के ऊपर एक छोटा सा हमारा है जिस पे हम चलेंगे, लेकिन उससे पहले मैं ये पूछना चाहूंगी कि जिन लोगों को डेल्टा हो चुका है ऑलरेडी, so is there a chance that they can pick Omicron as well?
Yes, definitely. and that's one of the features that we're seeing Omicron में कि Delta, even if you had Delta, then you can still get Omicron.
But severity
Omicron की बात
level,
they're saying कि Omicron gives good immunity to Delta for some reason.
All right, okay. अगर जिनको पहले Omicron हो
दूसरी चीज लोगों को ये ध्यान में रखना है कि ये Omicron is not necessarily the last mutation that we're going to see. तो ये जो जैसे मैंने कहा था कि RNA वायरस है, जो RNA है वो काफी अनस्टेबल होता है, और जो वायरसेस हैं उनकी नेचर ही है म्यूटेट होना, क्योंकि जितने भी टाइम्स वो रेप्लिकेट होते हैं तो इनमें मिस्टेक्स होते हैं, तो उनकी जेनेटिक कोड में, और कहीं ये जो मिस्टेक्स होते हैं, अगर if it gives it a survival advantage, so that becomes the dominant strain. So that's why first Delta and now, Omicron, because it is evading, the immunity. So that's why it is outperforming the Delta.
Yeah, that's right. So very well explanation on that. So thank you so much. इतना आसान लफ्जों में और डेमो के साथ एक्सप्लेन करना, it's amazing. So थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे हम आपको ब्रेक देंगे और यहाँ पे छोटा सा एक ब्रेक लेंगे, उसके बाद हम आएंगे चिल्ड्रन वैक्सीनेशन पे बात करेंगे डॉक्टर संध्या के साथ. हमारे साथ रहिएगा.
Hi, my name's Bronwyn Halfpenny. I'm a state elected representative for the seat of Thomastown. I represent people that live in Lalor, Thomastown, Epping, Wollert and Reservoir. I've asked our local doctors to tell us what they think about the COVID disease and the vaccine. Every doctor has jumped at the chance without hesitation. They've volunteered their time because they care about you and me and our neighbourhood. Many of our doctors grew up here or have chosen to live here, and their parents are also here. They want all of us to be safe. They are the experts. Please listen to them. I have been vaccinated to protect myself, my community, those I love. I hope you do too.
We're all...
Meet Dr. Hira. She has just moved from a big city to a regional town for work with her family. They have got a problem. They don't have any halal certified butcher or access to a wide range of international groceries in her regional town. Thankfully, they don't have to compromise on anything because Hira just found apnidukan.com.au, the best way to get 100% halal meat and international groceries delivered to your doorstep. With Apni Dukan, Hira picks out the halal meat and groceries that she needs using her smartphone. And Team Apni Dukan receives the order and start picking the items and pack them in insulated packaging with ice packs. Once the order is dispatched via refrigerated courier company, Hira received a text message letting her know that her order is on its way. Once delivered to the doorstep, Hira receives another message letting her know that her order is now delivered. This is incredible. Who would have thought that we can get halal meat and international groceries in a regional town like ours? Try apnidukan.com.au today.
Kira and Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Talking Points NZ. में आप हमें देख रहे हैं न्यूजीलैंड स्टूडियो में विद कोलैबोरेशन वॉइस ऑफ ऑस्ट्रेलियंस के साथ. सो हमारे साथ प्रोग्राम में मौजूद हैं डॉक्टर संध्या और जो कि हमारे साथ ही हैं प्रोग्राम में. So I hope I have given you enough break to drink water. Yeah. So प्रोग्राम में अब हम बात करेंगे डॉक्टर संध्या बच्चों की वैक्सीनेशन के बारे में, और स्पेशली जो कि काफी कंसर्निंग टॉपिक है. और बीइंग अ एशियन पेरेंट्स, तो लाइक आपको भी अंदाजा होगा कि बहुत से हमारी कम्युनिटी के लोग हैं जो कि काफी रिलेक्टेंट हैं 5 से 11 साल बच्चों की वैक्सीनेशन में, एंड देयर कंसर्न्स आर वैलिड. सो प्रोग्राम में हमारा मकसद ये नहीं है कि हम उनको फोर्स करें या फिर द पर्पस टू शेयर दिस इंफॉर्मेशन इज जस्ट टू टेल देम द फैक्ट्स, सो देन उनका डिसीजन कि आपने बच्चों को वैक्सीनेशन करवाना है नहीं करवाना, इट्स अप टू देम. सो सबसे पहले तो आप ये हमें बताएं कि ओमिक्रॉन हाउ इट इफेक्ट्स ऑन किड्स, लाइक स्पेशली 5 से 11 साल के बच्चों में अगर आप देख लें
तो सना जी, जैसे मैंने अभी बताया है आपको कि जो ओमिक्रॉन है वो बहुत ही कंटेजियस है. और हमने देखा है कि compared to the first wave, the subsequent waves, whether it was mainly we're looking at overseas, we did see more children affected, and this was for various reasons. क्योंकि पहले जो wave था, ज़्यादातर सारे बच्चे घर पे थे, you know,
Right.
before
Yeah.
vaccination. So, you know, they were protected and shielded. अब जब
Schools
Omicron
open है.
rapidly, you know, it's spreading, और बच्चे भी स्कूल में हैं, तो it is definite कि बच्चों को exposure होगा. ठीक है. अब हम, we are lucky in New Zealand कि our government is very conservative. Okay, so in terms of protection at schools for the 5 to 11-year-olds, abhi it is in the red alert traffic light, it is recommended कि जो year 4 से ऊपर के बच्चे should be wearing mask, और ये भी है कि teachers are mandated to be vaccinated. And you know, they started opening up the vaccination for these children from January 17th. Okay, so in terms of, as I explained, the Omicron is favoring the upper respiratory tract. So if you look at countries जैसे कि USA में जहाँ पर बहुत सारे cases हो चुके हैं, तो you have seen actually in young children quite a big jump in hospitalizations. I think something like 2 to 4 times the previous waves in numbers. Thankfully, it's still mild in that, you know, the children are only, you know, staying for short periods of time. But significantly, there's been a big raise in the hospitalizations for children under the age of 5. And that's probably because although thankfully children still get a mild illness, relatively mild illness, with COVID compared to adults, with Omicron affecting the upper respiratory tract a little bit more, because children have smaller upper respiratory tracts, that is leading to a little bit of, you know, more trouble and difficulty for them in breathing. Now, in terms of the vaccination, again, we are lucky because already, I think in America alone, I mean, over 8 million children in this age group have already been vaccinated. And what we've seen is the vaccine is very safe. For the 5 to 11-year-old group, they are getting a 10 microgram dose, which is different to the 30 microgram dose for the Pfizer vaccine that is given to adults and, you know, children over the age of 12. And that vaccine generally jo hai, is given 3 weeks apart. But in New Zealand, for your 5 to 11-year-olds, the vaccine spacing is between 8 weeks, just to try and decrease the chances of side effects. Now, in terms of side effects, the most common ones are, you know, ones that last only about 48 hours, similar to what adults felt, a little bit of pain at the site of the infection, maybe some fever, maybe some tiredness. In terms of the scary things, that there's been a lot of misinformation online, and that's talking about things that you would have heard of, myocarditis and pericarditis. Now, what is myocarditis and pericarditis? These are terminologies, medical terminologies for inflammation of the lining of the heart or the muscle of the heart. Now, this has come as incredibly rare. So in 8.6 million, the CDC just released, in 8.6 million children that were vaccinated in the 5 to 11-year-old group, there were only 12 cases in total. And that was a little bit more in boys than in girls. But again, you're talking between 2 and 4 per million. And all of those 12 cases were discharged. They self-resolved. So, and the other thing is, with COVID infection, agar aapko COVID infection ho jaye, bachcho ko, I mean, even if you're mild or asymptomatic, ye chance hai ki aapko, there is a condition called multi-system inflammatory disorder, which can happen 4 to 6 weeks after infection in children. And this has an incidence of about 1 in 3,000 or 1 in 3 or 4,000 children. The other thing is long COVID, where you have persistent symptoms that can last up to 6 months or perhaps more, can also occur in children. In adults, it's at about an incidence of 1 in 3 people who've had an infection. In children, it's much lower, much less common. But these are things, and the other things which we are seeing, I mean, we still don't know the long-term effects of COVID infection. So we are seeing increases in things like diabetes, both type 1 and type 2.
So diabetes in kids.
In children, yes, because we know that COVID can affect virtually every organ in the body. So recently there was just a big study that was reported on in Nature magazine, which has shown that there's a huge increase in cardiac risk for adults. So that, we just don't know, that we are exposing the
So
children.
what other
Whereas
complications
the
would be?
vaccination gives a really good protection. It is much preferable that you allow your immune system to learn how to fight this virus first by inducing immunity via vaccination. I mean, in medicine and in primary care, we say prevention is better than cure. And the gold standard for prevention for any infectious disease is vaccination. And this vaccination is very safe. It's been given to millions of people around the world safely. Yes, there have been some side effects, but in the little kids age group, it has been
Risks are low.
risks are low, and also it's had a 90% rate of success in avoiding this multisystem inflammatory disorder. And so all the people who went to ICU with this multisystem inflammatory disorder in the US were unvaccinated children who ended up, needing ICU care. So that's, I mean, the problem with Omicron is when so many people are going to be infected, when you have such large numbers, then it could be your child. That could be one of those unlucky ones that get that side effect. So it's far preferable. Doctors would never, recommend anything, because we look at everything in terms of a risk versus benefit profile. And the benefits of having the vaccination far outweigh very, very minor risks compared to getting that infection.
And we are good to, like, I was seeing numbers today for kids vaccinations, like 45% kids are vaccinated now between that age group, which is really good. That so we are still going slow, but not really bad. So
Another point with kids vaccination, because only at the moment it's between 5 to 11-year-olds. For those under 5-year-olds, it's very important also for pregnant and breastfeeding mothers. If they are due, if you haven't been vaccinated, please get vaccinated as soon as possible. And if it's been more than 3 months since your second dose, please get your booster, because via your breast milk or when you're pregnant, some of these antibodies will protect your baby. And unfortunately, the vaccine for the 6 months to 5-year-olds group, 4-year-old group, is probably still a few months away.
So so we have a couple of questions as well from our viewers. So Akhil Shah is asking just a question. One of the reaction of COVID vaccine is cardiac arrest, as you also mentioned. So in Australia, top deaths caused cardiac arrest in 2021. What do you say about this?
As I said, I think there's a lot of media hype and misinformation around this. Yes, this myocarditis is a documented potential adverse reaction from particularly some of the mRNA vaccines. In New Zealand, we only have the Pfizer vaccine that everybody is getting, but in Australia, they have many different ones. You have the AstraZeneca, you have the Moderna, and also the Pfizer. Now, this myocarditis is more common in younger male age group, and if you have any cardiac symptoms whatsoever after your vaccination, and they generally tend to occur quite soon, within a week or two after your vaccination, probably more common after the second dose, then it's very important for you to seek medical advice straight away. Because, I personally have treated several, patients who complained of things like chest pains, fast heart rates, and we went on to investigate them and monitor them, and they self-resolved. We spoke to cardiologists. There was one case of a 26-year-old who did die in New Zealand, and unfortunately, he had very significant cardiac symptoms which he ignored. So the key thing is to
keep an eye on symptoms.
Keep an eye on any symptoms, and just remember that myocarditis and cardiac problems are much more common in with COVID infection. than with vaccination. The problem in Australia and New Zealand was that because we did such a good job of controlling COVID, it was a different, equation altogether compared to other countries like India, where there were just such high rates of infection.
That's right. Thank you for answering that question. So I have a couple of questions from parents, like regarding children vaccination. So if a child is having eczema, so will that child be suitable for vaccination?
Absolutely. I mean, eczema is common. It's important with any chronic medical condition affecting, adults or children, that for our general health and immunity, it's important that we maintain good control.
Right.
But, obviously, they're not going to be putting the infection the vaccination in a site where there is clearly broken or inflamed skin. But
so
if you have any concerns, speak to your GP and make sure that you're using your proper treatment, and it's absolutely safe.
Okay. So parents who are worrying that kids having eczema or some other conditions, so they just need to seek GP's advice before going for vaccination.
It's certainly not a contraindication whatsoever.
Yeah. So we will head to mask section now. So because there are a lot of theories on that masks, like cloth mask, or we have seen fashionable mask as well. So people are wearing with the different dresses and colors and all that.
Just before that, Sana, just before you move on, a lot of just on the children's vaccines again, I think a lot of the time parents are quite worried that the child will find it scary to get the vaccination.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
I think it's really important that don't underestimate your children. Most of the children in that age group, for the most part of their life, all they've known is COVID, and children are very smart. They are very motivated to protect themselves. They've seen their parents and elder siblings get the vaccine, so involve them in it. Don't focus on the fact that it is a vaccine or it's a sui or it's a needle. Talk to them like it's a medicine. It's a devai. It will, help protect you and help make you be able to stay at school.
Yeah, have a discussion with your child.
Yeah, and in terms of things like pain, children feed off their parents. As long as the parent is calm, you take simple distraction things like whether it's their favorite toy or a show on their iPad. On the actual site, if they have a real needle phobia, you can get some local anesthetic creams from the pharmacy, which you can apply. And apart from that, also things like just applying a little bit of ice for a minute or so before or an ice pack will help numb the area. And just make sure that you distract them and you remain calm. And I think it can be a very positive experience for them.
Yeah, so that's one of the questions that I received from our local pharmacies, that they have said that many parents coming and saying their kids have phobia of needles. So thank you for answering that. And so we will go on, as you also mentioned, like that kids now have to wear masks like year 4 onwards, and students. So what type of mask? Because we have different type of mask: surgical mask, blue one that we see, N95 mask, and then we have a cloth mask, different fabrics and different styles. So I just wanna know, like from you, like what do you think, which one is most effective, and in which conditions we have to wear that?
Okay, excellent question, because I think this has been a very confusing area. Recently, I did a video on this with stuff, and you can find that.
Yeah, I will share the link.
Yeah, you can share the link, and I explain how to use N95. So, without question, with each passing variant, they've become, more contagious. So more, infectious forms of the virus means that we need to improve the weapons that we had before. So where, a cloth mask might have been adequate before, now we need to really up our mask game. We have to improve the effectiveness of our mask. But you need to remember that a mask is better than no mask, and the mask needs to be a well-fitted mask. So you might wear the most, effective N95, but if it's not fitted well, then that's not going to give you very good protection. So you've probably heard this term N95. So that refers to masks, and another name for them is P2 masks, which is a common name in Australia and New Zealand. And these are the ones you see doctors wear. They look like this. And doctors get it fit. Yeah, they have these straps that go around your head, and they have foam that molds to your nose, and it goes under your chin, and it forms a very tight seal. One of the elastics is at the top of your crown of your head, and the other one behind your neck. Now, these N95 refers to the fact that they block, over 95% of these small viral particles. Okay. Now, these ones, are the sort of ones that doctors wear. There are a few different types available on the market. They have the KN95, which is a Chinese grade N95, and it looks a little bit like this. And these are quite easy to find, but you have to be careful because there are some counterfeit ones, and these have loops on either side that go like this. The other one that is quite easy to find are these Korean ones, which are called KF94, and they look a little bit like this. Okay, so these are good masks, and they can be reused. So you can't wash these masks, because the reason they're very effective is fibers inside the filter have an electrostatic charge, which basically traps the virus particles. So it's very important.
And can we reuse that one? And
you can reuse them for general community use. It's good to have 3 to 5 masks, and label them for each day of the week. Then have a paper bag and a little hanger at home with pegs, and then after you use it, just peg that Monday's mask in the Monday bag, and then next Monday you can use it again. So you can't use any mask that's damp, and once it's visibly soiled, then you need to get rid of it. Usually the first thing that goes is the elastics. So when the elastics are loose, then you should get rid of it. But generally you can get probably 5 wears out of each mask using it that way in a community setting. And you might, it probably needs about 3 to 4 days in between to dry out. Now, your surgical mask is the next best option. And these are blue, usually on the outside, which is the waterproof layer. So that's the outer layer, and it has a wire side, which is the top side for your nose, and the bottom side that goes under your chin. The problem with these masks, especially for children, is that they tend to be quite big on your face, okay? So if you look on my face, there's all these big gaps below and to the side. Now, in that same video, I showed some simple tricks or mask hacks. One of the most simple ones is putting a knot on either side of the mask, folding it in half. And this is good for children and, people with small faces. And then, getting each side and tucking it in like this, okay? So it looks something like this. And then you put it back on your face. And then you just smooth those folds. See how this is now fitting my face and creating a much better seal around my nose and my mouth. So, not allowing virus particles to enter. Another thing you can do is put a cloth mask over the top of a surgical mask to improve the fit. Now, depending on if you're just going to a shop briefly, or, even for children, because comfort is a very important thing. For my children, I found these very good cloth masks online. If you get a cloth mask, make sure it's at least 2 or 3 layers, and it has a filter pocket. So if you can put in a filter, you can buy 2.5 filters, in the shops, or you can even sometimes insert a surgical mask as a filter. And again, it should be very well fitted. See this mask, it goes under the chin, and it has a wire to mold to my nose. So, this cloth mask with the filter is probably better for me than the surgical mask with no, folding. So, yeah, there are a lot of options in terms of masks, but the key thing is wear a well-fitted mask, and particularly when you're in indoor, poorly ventilated locations. So if you were to go to, a high-risk setting, then I would choose, where there's a lot of crowd, I would choose your, N95.
So, N95. Yeah.
Okay.
No, that's great for, that's great for kids to have that folding, because otherwise it's very loose and it's not fulfilling the purpose.
Because these masks were originally, they're mainly designed to protect the other person from your droplets. So these are not really designed to filter those tiny, tiny little, aerosolized particles.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's why, and the benefit of reducing that is because the less particles we inhale, the less severe the infection, even if we do get infected. First of all, if you get vaccinated, then you will need to inhale more of these particles compared to an unvaccinated person to lead to an infection. But if I wear a well-fitted mask as opposed to a loose mask, then by decreasing the number of viral particles that I've allowed to enter my system, that's less particles that I'm allowing access to my cells to then replicate and create millions of copies to give me a more severe infection. So reducing viral dose is really important, and is one of the things we have to learn as we learn to live with COVID. So it's about learning to manage your risk and learning to always try and keep your viral load, dose reduced.
So what about in different like indoor settings? We have said that mask is compulsory to protect ourselves and others. But what about exercising? Like, because COVID is also stressing many people, and they're coming across with different health conditions, if not ending up with COVID, but they have some mental health issues. So to overcome that, they have to keep going with exercise and daily routines. So what would you suggest when you are in gym or doing different like outdoor exercise? So either we have to wear mask or we just can go with the 2-meter distance.
Well, as you said, exercise is extremely important, and I think the number one priority, which a lot of people aren't really thinking about after you've got your vaccination, is to maintain a good general health, because your immune system is your first port of defense in fighting any infection, and COVID-19 is no different. And so the basics of that is eating well, sleeping well, drinking water, exercising regularly, staying connected with your loved ones, and staying calm. Now, in terms of exercise, outdoors is quite safe compared to indoors. So generally speaking, if I go for a walk, New Zealand, we have large open spaces. It's not like a high density population. So it's quite safe to walk without the mask. Also, we have very high rates of, vaccination, but, keep one with you. I always keep a mask with me. So if I do find that
if you have to talk to someone, or
if you have to stop and talk to somebody, or if you have to, pop into a shop, then you can put your mask on. It's safe, but not for vigorous exercise. I wouldn't recommend. Gyms are a little bit probably a little bit of a more dangerous place, because currently, although in New Zealand we are lucky that you need a vaccine pass to enter the gym, and there are restrictions on the number of people. If I was to go to my gym, I wouldn't be doing a very vigorous workout, and I would wear a mask inside the gym. So I'm preferring to do workouts outside the gym. Or so ventilation is really important, and finding out about what the ventilation is. You've just got to sort of utilize your common sense a little bit.
Or maybe the time when
you're allowed to exercise.
Or maybe the time when you know that there's a not peak time to go to gym. So keeping that in mind.
But being very careful, for example, if you go to the bathroom in the gym, you need to keep that mask on, because those aerosols can remain in an unventilated space for quite a few hours. So if you enter a room where there's nobody, expecting that you're not going to get anything, if that room was poorly ventilated, then you could inhale it, just like in a lift, for example. So it's preferable to take the stairs if you can than taking a lift.
You just need to use your common sense, like how you can protect yourself. Omicron is behind you all the time. Thank you so much, Dr. Sandhya, for all this information, and especially having a visual as well. And I will also share your videos clip down there in the comments, so then people can watch that, because those are really effective, and with a special demonstration, like as you have done right here now. So, and that helps people to understand. Or so program जो है, almost we are near to the end. So, but I will again call you in the program, and as we going through this COVID journey, and it's not going to end soon. So we will stay in touch, and we will invite you again. And So your experience. So in conclusion of the program, I just wanna ask you, like, your experience so far being a GP and seeing so many patients, and especially COVID ones. So what is your like message that you want to give to parents, especially for children, and overall to adults? Like, if, as you said, that there are few cases where they haven't taken precautionary measures when they had vaccination, or they haven't listened to their body, so they haven't contacted medical assistance when they need it. So, like, what would you like to say?
I would just like to say, Sanajiki, I mean, everybody should stay calm, and that you should be prepared. So just like in the first wave in India, the reason for the success of my video was very quickly I realized that authorities weren't informing people how to manage this infection at home. And, you know, the vast majority of cases, we're talking 90%, are managed at home. So we should be equipped. And so keep those simple things at home, your paracetamol for you and your child. You know, if you can, a pulse oximeter is a really good idea, or some of the smart watches and, you know, wearables do have the ability to read your oxygen saturation. And, you know, have a good contact with your GP, because most of these cases, they'll just be like a simple viral illness. You'll get over it in a few days. And as long as you're prepared, and you have a plan, then you won't feel panicked. And that's been my message throughout the whole. Stay informed and be prepared, and don't be afraid. Just learn what the parameters are to keep yourself safe, and then just keep following them.
Yeah, and get vaccinated if you are convinced with the facts and information, and rely on the information which is authentic. As you mentioned, that there are a lot of misconceptions and going around on that. So thank you so much for joining us today, and for your time. And we will share your videos link as well, so people also know that how to manage COVID at home. Because in that video that has, I think, translated in 17 languages.
16, 16 language dubs, but all of the
languages.
You know, languages of India. I have covered, and a lot of the major European languages as well.
Yeah. So we will share that link so people can share with their friends or family. So if they if that can help. So thank you so much for your time, and best of luck for this journey, because for GPs it's been a hectic time. So we all know that in the health system. Yeah. So thank you so much, Dr. Sandhya.
It's my pleasure.